Hello everyone, welcome to the 3rd of November weekly market updates on Technical Insights. This Monday morning, Asian markets opened rather mixed after investors welcomed a trade truce between President Donald Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping last week. The meeting between Trump and Xi last week led to some consensus on de-escalating the trade dispute over rare earth that threatened to push the world's two largest economies into a full-blown trade war. Both sides are trying to maintain leverage and agreed to meet again next year in April to further negotiate outstanding issues like the imports of Nvidia chips and the TikTok deal. Japan Nikkei 225 index on holiday today jumped over 2% last Friday to hit a fresh record high of 52,411 points. China's CSI 300 index fell by about 0.5% today after private PMI compiled by S&P Global shows that China factory activity slowed down to 50.6 in October from 51.2 in September. Hong Kong Hang Seng Index, on the other hand, rose by about 0.5%, led by gains in Xiaomi after Chinese President Xi Jinping presented South Korean President Lee Jae-myung with a flagship Xiaomi smartphone at the conclusion of the APEC summit in South Korea. Over in the US last week, all three major US indices managed to hit new all-time high last week, boosted by shares of tech giant Amazon on the heels of its strong quarterly results. The Dow Jones Index rose by about 0.1% on Friday and 0.75% for the week, hitting a high above the 48,000 mark last Wednesday at 48,040 points. The S&P 500 also added 0.26% on Friday and ended the week up by 0.7%, with the all-time high now standing at last Wednesday high of 6,920 points. Tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite Index, with the most to gain from the de-escalating trade tensions, climbed 0.61% last Friday and closed the week higher by 2.24% and was the largest winner among the three US indices. Amazon shares rallied 9.6% on Friday, carrying the Nasdaq Composite Index higher after the e-commerce giant said that its cloud computing unit revenue increased by 20% in the third quarter, exceeding most of Wall Street estimates. The company's CEO, Andy Jassy, said that AWS is growing at a pace not seen since 2022, and AI and core infrastructure are experiencing strong demand. Other related AI names like software giant Palantir also rose 3%, with leading AI player Oracle gaining 2.2%. AI software maker Palantir will also be announcing its result this week. For the month of October, the 30 stock Dow Jones Index advanced 2.5%, while S&P 500 climbed 2.3%. Nasdaq Composite Index again was the outperformer, jumping 4.7% for the month of October. This is also the Dow Jones Index 6th consecutive positive month in a row, and this is the first time that we have seen this since 2018. Back to Singapore, our STI index found a new all-time high last Tuesday at 4,478 points and is now firmly above the 4,400 levels going into the Singapore Bank's earnings this week. We ended last Friday down by 0.2%, but ended the week slightly higher by 0.02%. Top performer on the STI last week includes Keppel and Wilmar, ending the trading week up 5.3% and 4.7% respectively after reporting their third quarter FY25 results. For Keppel, its first 9-month net profit grew by about 25%, and that was enough to propel the share price of Keppel past the $10 mark to $10.19 on last Friday close. Its total asset monetization since October 2020 is now around the 14 billion mark. Keppel also mentioned that it will use part of the cash unlocked from its ongoing asset sale, including the proposed divestment of M1, to reward shareholders. For Wilmar, they reported that their core net profit improved 71% year-on-year to $357 million for the quarter on the back on strong operational results across all core segments, coupled with higher contributions from its joint venture, with China Food Products leading the gains. But Wilmar reported a net loss of $347 million in third quarter FY 2025, ending September, as a result of a 11 trillion rupiah payment to the Indonesian Supreme Court after it overturned its acquittal on a graft case that took place in 2021. Wilmar share price ended Friday up by 0.32% and up 4.60% on the trading week. So for this week's technical analysis, let's look at the top gainer on the STI last week, which is Keppel Limited. This Monday morning, Keppel share price jumped by 1 cent or 0.1% to reach the $10.20 level after the 5.3% gain last week. Looking at Keppel price chart, we noted that the share price has largely been range-bound in the first quarter of this year, touching a high of $7.03 in January and a low of $6.57 in March. In April, Keppel share price dropped to a year-to-date low of $5.61 due to the US tariff, but rebounded strongly afterwards. In the first 9 months of FY 2025, Keppel announced the monetization of about $2.4 billion in assets, including the proposed M1 deal and interest in its environmental solution provider 800 Super. This gives investors confidence that the group is committed to a steady and sustainable dividend strategy that reflects the earning performance of the new Keppel, excluding the non-core portfolio for divestment and discontinued operations. Keppel share price then mounted a very strong rebound, forming an uptrend price channel over here. With last Thursday earnings update, Keppel share price is now testing the upper bound of the Bollinger Band, now at $10.24, with the year-to-date high standing at last Friday, $10.35. The immediate support for Keppel share price is the 20-day moving average in green, now at $9.54, which also saw a bounce when it was tested recently on the 13th of October. Further support come in at the 50-day moving average in blue at $9.05, with the low bound of the Bollinger Band providing further support at $8.83. Looking at the indicators, the MACD is showing a very strong positive momentum for the last 3 weeks, and the MACD line is diverging upwards away from the signal line, indicating the continuation of the uptrend that we have seen so far. The RSI, now at the 83-point reading, has breached above the 70-point overbought levels, indicating that there may be a short-term technical pullback. On the analysts covering Keppel stocks, 9 has a strong buy call, 3 has a buy call, and 1 has a hold call with 1 sell call. The average 12-month target price among them is about $10.58, and it's about 4% away from the current price that we are at now. So for investors looking at Keppel, it will be prudent to wait for the stock to pull back towards the 20-day moving average at $9.54 before accumulating Keppel shares again, targeting the analyst 12-month target price of $10.58. And these are the updates that I have this week. If you do find the information useful, do remember to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with the latest market movement. And I'll see you again next week in the next Technical Insight.